Today's episode is one that is going to help you step fully into what your sweet sauce, what your edge is when it comes to your skill set inside of your coaching practice. I'm bringing on an amazing guest who's been a mentor to me and has helped me truly own who I am and weave that into my business so I can show up in my full authority. Hey. Before we dive into this week's episode, I wanted to share something I'm just genuinely excited about because I know that it is going to change the game for all of you listening right now. Here's what I do know about you so much, and this just is reaffirmed the more of you that I get to have conversations with. You're so good at what you do, and you have the experience, you have the heart, you have the passion and the expertise. And when you get a client in session with you, you know it. Like, it's just brilliant. The transformation happens, and moving them into your signature coaching feels natural because they can feel how good you are. The part that feels hard, though, is the part that keeps you up at night. The struggle of just the consistency of lead flow of clients. The getting clients part is the hardest. The months that sometimes I think are really high months are followed by lows, and you're not really sure how to create that consistency. And here's something that I've noticed across every single coach that I work with who has built a consistently full roster. They have a bridge. They have a bridge between meeting them and bringing those clients into their high ticket offer. In my world, I call that a small bite offer, a specific accessible offer that lets the right person experience your coaching and brilliance before they commit to that bigger investment. No expensive ads. It's not a fancy, complicated funnel. No endless hours of discovery calls, just a smarter on-ramp that does the trust building and the heavy lifting for you. This is where majority of my 88% of my clients and the best damn offer come from one of these. And I see this bringing so much success to all of my clients, especially in today's market. The doors are now open for our only live cohort of 2026 of the Small by Offer program. In just 6 weeks with me live, you are going to build out a specific small by offer that's going to help your amazing clients get to experience your magic and then come into your next step as well. I genuinely believe that this 6 weeks is going to change your business. It's going to change the way you talk about your business. It's going to change the way you sell. Everything's going to feel effortless. We kick off on June the 4th at 10 a.m. and we go for 6 weeks. So just imagine at the end of the 6 weeks, you will have a small by offer that you love, that you're obsessed with, and that it makes bringing new premium clients into your world so much easier. Head on over to amanda-walker.com/small bite to join this one and only live cohort of 2026 kicking off June 4th. Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. You guys, today's episode is going to knock your socks off. I already know it before she even starts to speak. And you guys know how sacred my episodes are because I only have 11 guests a year. The 12th guest in December is my husband, Justin. But I handpick the people that come to this show for you guys because I don't want to waste your time, just to be frank. And we don't have space for fluff here. And I know when you put this podcast into your ears, it should be meaningful. And today is honestly one of probably the most meaningful new friend that came into my life in 2025, 2024, whenever we met. I don't really remember, but I am so excited to have Tracy O'Malley here. So welcome, my friend.
Oh my goodness. I am so honored. And I feel exactly the same way about the gift that came barreling into my life with you. But not barreling. You were pretty.
I actually think barreling might be kind of accurate in some ways, but
I will say this, your energy barreled into my life, but it was very soft and beautiful, kind of like when we met and I just knew. And you are the best damn coach I've ever seen. So like your community and anybody that works with you is so blessed to have you in their life, as am I. What a gift you are. So thank you.
Equal. Well, thank you. I feel like this episode's so overdue because you don't know this, but I've talked about you on previous episodes. The first time when we had more in-depth interaction at the retreat, which is kind of where you like cracked me wide open. It was a big transformation, but I got back and I was like, talking about it. And then I here and there sprinkle in, my knowledge of my own 8 energy and how much it's taught me. So I think some of the listeners are probably like, oh, it's her, it's that girl. But now we get to hear from you in person, or via the podcast. So,
Means a lot to me as somebody who is so brilliant and wise as you. The fact that I could impact you and teach you something means the world to me, and it's not lost on me. So thank you.
yes. So, if you haven't heard me speak about Tracy, I'm going to rewind the clock and just set up the context a little bit. I think you guys as listeners know me well enough. You know, I shoot you straight. That's just kind of my mannerisms. And I've also shared authentically my struggles in life of just connection with women, allowing a lot of ego to lead my way, knowing that I bring in big energy and also sharing kind of my struggles and being vulnerable hasn't always been something I've been willing or open to doing. And business, just running a business has helped me step more into that. But I don't know, a year and a half or so ago, I was a part of a mastermind. And our first event in Palm Springs, Tracy was one of the guests that got to speak. And she knows this already, so I can say this, but like, oh, you're going to learn about the Enneagram. I was like, this is so lame. Like, I don't do the Enneagram. So when they sent me the form and I had to do this stuff, I was already resistant because I've never really done any personality tests because I was like, nobody's gonna put me in a box. Personality assessments are silly, and anytime you tell me what to do, I'm gonna do the opposite thing anyways. And so there was something about Tracy, though. I had seen her speak on stage and I'd approached her because she presented this kind of concept of understanding yourself in a very different way. And I was kind of like, is she super woo or no? What's happening? And I walked up to her. She was in this super cute, like leather outfit. I just loved her energy. And then she was wearing a cross necklace. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe we can be woo and like a little, like we can be all these things together. And then that particular day, I felt like when she presented, it wasn't about the number I was at all. It's not. It was about you gave me access and permission to myself that I felt like nobody had really ever conveyed, and you could describe who I was in a way that was like, "Ah, it's really cool to be an 8, and it's also really okay to be an 8, and people that can't get along with my 8 energy, like, they're not for me." And I don't know what it was about. Right time, right person, I think is also part of the process, and a right availability that I had. I think coming through my faith journey, my heart had softened. I had a greater willingness, to see my flaws and my strengths. But yeah, you cracked me. I was like a heaping mess. I was like ugly crying. I look at some of the videos from the retreat. I'm like, can we not put those anywhere? They're pretty horrific. And so that was the beginning of me just being really open to the whole idea of just knowing that I was made in a way that's perfect for me and how I can strengthen that and how I can soften that. And that's how, you end up with an 8 tattoo is because it was such a pivotal moment for me. So,
Wow.
um,
I wouldn't say it was a mess. I would say it was miraculous and beautiful. Like to, to see a fellow 8, be in the softness, the most evolved, 8s that are soft and vulnerable like that is the holy grail when an 8 can do that. So, again, thank you for mirroring that to me as an evolved 8. We're rare, so
yeah.
when we do step into that, we're world changers. So
Amazing. I love that you like I was gonna bring that up too, that you're an 8. And there was this level of she gets me that felt really safe and comfortable to talk about. And it's nice to hang out now together and to be amongst 8s, which I think historically probably would have been somebody I would not allow in or would be a little bit like peacocky with. But I don't have that from you 0%. So that's really, really nice as
I joke sometimes like it's hard to have more than one 8 in a room at a time. If the robust ego is at play, because it is very peacocky otherwise, but 8s can be led when they trust who's leading.
that's it. That's
A
it.
billion percent.
Exactly.
That's why I love learning from you. Like all armor's down, all ego steps aside. Like you guys, that's how you know she's the best damn coach. Seriously.
Thank you.
For
I
real.
love I love you for saying that. I do want to like just give some context though, because um, you talk about the Enneagram, like that doesn't even do it justice. We're not going to waste time here and talk about ones, twos, threes. That's like not what this episode's about. I don't think that really does, justice to the discussion that we want to have today. But I do want you to share just however much of your story you want to share, just give us like a few minutes of an overview of how did you get here? Because it's been a windy road, but I think it's super relatable that, um, this ends up being a tool that's so important to you.
Well, to your point, I mean, I had a similar visceral reaction when my therapist 14 years ago wanted me to do this Enneagram thing, and I was way more colorful in my language. And my ego was way inflated. And, it was not at the highlight reel of my life when this was presented to me, and literally told my therapist what she could do with the Enneagram. And, she's an 8 like us too. So she didn't miss a beat. And I'd been through 9 therapists at this point, didn't trust any of them, not because of my ego, but because they weren't great. And Nancy didn't miss a beat. And she's like, this is not about putting you in a box or controlling you, because that's 2 things we don't like as 8s. It's like, I won't be controlled. However, like, my best thinking had gotten me where I was, which was in rehab. My emotional coping skills weren't great. And I knew that in order to blaze the trail for my kids, who were 14 and 15 at the time, I needed to learn and dismantle some of what had been taught, told, and modeled for me. And we could understand that it has to be different, but if we haven't practiced doing that and all of
Totally.
that. So touche, Nancy.
We love you, Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah, I even had her write the foreword of my book 10 years ago. I still occasionally see it special to this day. And she laughs the fact that this is the work I do now, because she remembers what I told her to do with the Enneagram. But was very revealing to me, similar to you, when I dropped the ego and allowed myself a surrender of the process. It was very divinely appointed to me at that time, because had it, like you, been presented any earlier, not only would I have been resistant to it, I would have used it in a way that could be weaponized or manipulated to keep my armor up even more. So, when the student's ready, the teacher and tools appear. And I remember when I dove into it, I felt God very present in my life saying, I've been waiting for you to be responsible enough to not just use this, but to carry the message. Because the beautiful thing about the Enneagram is it provides this framework and roadmap and language to show you how God designed you, and that it is beautiful and you are wonderfully made. And, yes, each Enneagram type has, the shadow side and a less evolved portion of it. But when you understand that, where there is darkness, there's also a lot of light, and the contrast is so important. How do you experience great, tremendous joy if you haven't experienced the other side of that? And the same thing when we look in the mirror, I think oftentimes we look at the spots that we don't love first, right? I never looked at my eyes first in the mirror, ever. And now that
You need to go to YouTube and see Tracy on this interview, by the way, because you'll see her eyes and you're gonna be like, oh, they're breathtaking.
thank you. I looked at the parts that I don't love, and same thing with the Enneagram. When we're presented with this mirror version of ourselves in written form or even listening form like we are now, we resist some of the things. And I remember when I was looking at the 8, I was like, oh, great, you're the 8 bull. And I saw things like domineering, aggressive, direct, hurts people's feelings. And I was like, check, check, check. Even when I didn't intend to. Some of it was intentional, to, keep people at arm's length. But in that moment, I was like, but where there is darkness, there is light. And I saw world changer, justice fighter, you know, all the good things that 8s are. We will stand on the front line and blaze the trail fearlessly sometimes, and people need that courage and not afraid of conflict. Conflict is the greatest catalyst for growth and change in our lives. And so in that moment, I was like, okay, yes, some of these not so pretty parts are true. And also, this provided a roadmap on how to get to the light, not just within our 8ness, but the rest of the framework that was connected to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a frameworks girl too. I'm a reverse engineering kind of like love the process of that. And the Enneagram was the compass that showed me who God designed me to be and to own it in all its glory and all its messiness and all its uniqueness. And so from that moment forward, that's what I did. The other thing that happened though in that moment was, oh crap, I know this language very, very well, my 8 language, but I am raising 2 children that are not 8
Yes.
and also not the same as each other. And so the next moment, once I kind of really embraced, like, okay, this is who God designed me to be, I'm going to own it fully in integrity with beautiful intent. Check on the path there. The next thing I needed to understand was how my children were wired because I grew up in an environment that I never felt seen, heard, understood, or valued for who I was. And that is all I have ever wanted for my kids. And my biggest fear in life, honestly, even before having kids, was effing up my kids.
Yeah.
And I realized I was a very, very well-intended mom. And I could see the spirit slip sometimes because no matter how well-intended I was, I didn't see them fully for who they were. And so the Enneagram, by about day 5 in rehab, I had figured out where they landed in it, and I saw very clearly they're motivated differently from me and from each other. Their biggest fear is not like mine, and I had, low key judged that in the past and would tell them not to be afraid of the very thing that they're afraid of. And so I came home armed not only with 30 days of sobriety under my belt, now have 14 years, but also I had this beautiful tool to help me understand the path in which God had designed my children and to honor that and not make mini me's because they aren't mini me's. And overnight, the culture in my home changed. And I've been a single mom for 18 years. And, I didn't always have the best track record of nurturing. And this helped me shift into that in the most elegant, beautiful ways now for the last 14 years. So it's beautiful that half their life they've experienced, me as an 8, not always the healthiest, but always well intended. And now, like the most beautiful, God centered, honorable 8 and mother that I've ever been. And because they've had that contrast, they respect it and appreciate it so much more.
Totally.
And they're better friends because they understand that not everybody has me. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that every day. So how can you not love the Enneagram when it has had that kind of impact that
Totally.
fast in your home, in your lineage, in your legacy overnight?
I agree with you. And it's like, as you're listening to this, I want to be really clear because Tracy and I both said this. We're not trying to sell you the Enneagram as a tool. We're trying to have a discussion here about what I think to be is a major breakthrough I had in my business as a byproduct of full acceptance of who I was. And sometimes I think for me, there is like, it's like this thing that we can't quite put our finger on. We're like, but why am I not all in? Or why am I having a hard time showing up as my full self or talking about the things that are important to me? And for me, what I can look back, it was like before Enneagram, like I was decent. I will give you that. I was good at what I did. But now I just feel like I don't give two F's to be honest, because I am who I am, and if I don't fully show up and own that space, then two things are going to happen. I'm going to be misaligned in my business and life. And second, I'm going to be attracting clients that aren't ready for me or don't want to learn from me because you are getting what you're getting. If I'm talking about everything that matters to me, everything I believe in, and being my full self on every episode I record and every piece of content and everything I write, then the people that love me are going to come closer and the people that aren't for me are going to go away. And I think that's really like the undercurrent of this conversation is to there's one thing to know that you're an 8. There's another thing to be all in and understand there's a healthy version of this. And am I doing the work to find what that is for me? Would you agree? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And, even when it gets a little rocky and you feel like you're off-roading with yourself sometimes, the Enneagram provides you a clear path on how to get back to who you are. And one of the things that I am obsessed with that you teach is about hyper-specificity.
Nailed it.
God, that word is so hard sometimes. But like this helps you be hyper-specific on who you are. Like,
Yes.
it's
Good.
full barred, and when you are owning that hyper specificity, like, your people, the ones that are meant to learn and be guided by you, they can't ignore you, and they know you're the real damn deal.
Yes, it's so
And
good.
and
Well,
just
and then
be aware that there's blind spots to that, right? Like
exactly.
it's normal. Like when you drive a car, I don't care if you drive like a G-Wagon or a Prius, like you still got to check your blind spot no matter what you're driving, including yourself. And it doesn't have to have this emotional charge attached to it. Just know it's there. You got to check it so you don't wreck it.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Well, then, and then once I felt like I was equipped, then there were people in my life that I was like, man, to your point, I can be a better wife and I can be a better mom if I understand the motivation, right? Because that's something that I learned from you so much is like what's underneath it? Like what matters to me? What freedoms do I want? What inspires me to move through my life? Because what I feel like leads me is not necessarily what leads my children. And then, you helped identify Justin as an 8 as well. That ended up making because I was like, is he a 1 or 3? And neither of us really fit. But then I was like, oh, this makes sense. This is why I would think, this is just my own opinion, that maybe 8s marrying each other isn't historically what works best, but because we've known each other since we were babies and we've come up in our 8ness together probably, like the ego is something like we're constantly in competition, we're constantly ego busting, but it's taken a tremendous amount of work in communication, to make that work for us, right? And then you help.
Like
Yeah.
it could have been a disaster, right? Like I was raised by an 8 and there was only room for one of us at that table. And so I had to use other components of the Enneagram to kind of get through that. But when any types together, my daughter is marrying the same type as her. And I've always told her, as long as you guys continue to grow together, you are so beautiful for each other. And you and Justin, like, as you bust through that, you're always like, it's so evident in the 20 years you guys have been together, 20 plus years, that you guys continuously are honorable to the growth process together. And any types that are on that path, wanting to be the highest version of themselves, like any types can work together. And seriously, talk about ride or dies, like 8s together when they're healthy, like unstoppable. And that's when you have
Yeah.
ones that are totally
Well, thank you.
painful to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to speak about you for a minute because in there's something about you. My sweet daughter, Tracy, did attend the BDC live, so she got to meet my daughter for the first time. Tracy walks in with this leather jacket. She's wearing a "Do the Damn Thing" shirt, and my mom or my daughter's like, "Oh, who's that?" I was like, "Oh, remember my friend Tracy, who I've talked about that helped me just like better understand myself. She does Enneagram work." She's like, "Mom, I want to meet her." Mom, I wanna make sure, that I meet her. I would love to chat with her. I was like, "Okay, don't worry. Before the 2 days, I'll make sure that you guys connect." But there's this boldness that you have, and I love that kind of your branding is all about I would say I think this is currently too your language, but, like, yeah, be legendary, be a legend, and when you speak, there is this energy that you bring that is very magnetic. I'm curious, like, what are you telling yourself or what are you doing like maybe as practical examples or just inner work that has allowed you I mean granted we're not all perfect, I know there's still stuff we all got going down, but like what helps you step into that on a regular basis because it is truly felt, is it being an 8 or do you feel like there's some things that you do, from a practical sense for people that are listening that are like, oh yeah, I struggle with this but like how do I do it on the daily?
This conversation means so much to me because there's so many times throughout the days that I even am like, who the heck am I right now? But and I'm one of the most introverted people I know. I literally could live in a compound by myself with animals. As long as my kids showed up from time to time, I really would be okay. And after COVID and I really have gotten comfortable and I'm the queen and master of the Irish goodbye. So like now you see me, now you don't kind of thing.
Mhm,
I will say
mhm.
your event is the one event I didn't do it one time.
Oh,
Says so
music to
much.
my ears.
But to back to kind of what you said, um, as much as I am an introvert, especially with this wave of technology and artificial intelligence, there's something very emotional about being in connection in life, in real, in person. And Whereas sometimes I have felt like I don't wanna be in certain rooms. That room, I just was like, I could put everything down, A, because I trusted you and the container that you created, and also just your wisdom and all of that. But I kinda just when I go in with that energy, not only is there that bold, courageous, powerful energy, I've worked really hard on the compassionate, nurturing aspect of who I am. And when those two things come together, I will, F around and find out is kind of like, you try me, that'll be fun. But also, like, I will love the crap out of you and see you fully without any judgment. And I remember when Mac came up to me, we went deep quick. We were talking about God and ministry and, her business and how, like, that's going to,
Friendship.
and French, yeah, lots on friendships
Struggle, yeah.
and courage. And like, we went there so fast. And, she's 16 and I'm 54. You know what I mean? And it's just I walk into any kind of in-person scenario, whether it's at the grocery store, it's like I wanna see whoever is in front of me so fully, with love, with compassion, because you never know. Like, I may never know the impact on somebody, but I believe, you know, I'm here kind of in discipleship, and that ripple effect and compound effect, I take that responsibility very seriously, no matter who's in front of me, whether it's your beautiful daughter or who sat next to me at your event, or who bagged my groceries at the store. And so whenever I do kind of leave my little compound here, I'm very intentional on bringing who I am and who God designed me to be at any given moment. Equal fire, equal soft.
Yeah, it's so felt though. Yeah.
And love,
Well,
of course.
yeah. Well, I was thinking back to the retreat too. Tracy was a guest at my retreat last fall too. I think that is your superpower. You were complimenting me on like, oh my gosh, your teaching is like so great before we got started. But I think that is your superpower. There is this amazing job. I was, I've watched you interact with lots of people too. It's like you just can accelerate that feeling of feeling so seen and heard so quickly. And I think in the coaching world, that is the X factor, that approachability, that softness, that's that X factor that I think we can actively work on, but self-awareness helps us settle into that so we can get there faster too, and I think it's such an important skill set for practitioners to understand. People will say, "Why aren't people buying from me?" or "Why can't I?" I'm like, because we gotta help you get rapport faster. We gotta help you do some things and, like, really make that person on the other side of the screen feel seen and heard. And part of that is you being who you are, but part of that is also studying and making it about that other person and being fully present in that moment.
It's interesting because as magnetic as I am, and I know that when I'm at my best, and also when people are ready to receive that, because it is a big old mirror in front of people, and most want to be seen, heard, and understood, and there are many others that are running from the the image in the mirror. So as equally as I am magnetic and people are drawn to that, I see the ones that run away too. And for the longest time, as tough as I am, I'm still human, and that didn't always feel good. Sometimes people will be magnetized towards me, and then they'll get what they need out of that, and then they're gone. And it can feel like very cold and abandoning sometimes. And also, I know not everybody's ready for the journey.
Totally.
If me, the me I am today, had stood in front of me 15, 16 years ago, there is no shot in hell that I would have stood toe to toe with me at the time, because I was not ready. I was
Yes.
like, to see myself fully, not just fully, but with compassion, kindness, and curiosity. Like, that is the very important piece to this. Self-awareness and self-knowing and self-honoring is a really important process. But if you're not doing with that kindness, compassion, and curiosity, it's probably judgment, criticism, and shame, which will keep you stuck. So
Mhm.
I know that the calling on my life is to be not just magnetizing, but also polarizing. And some people will see that trigger as an opportunity to go deeper with themselves. Some won't be ready yet. And so I will be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, there's so much I wanna unpack here. So I have to write myself a note because you just said something. Okay, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole that for just a second. So y'all, hang on to your boots here, but this just feels like it should come up, and I'm going to share it. So vulnerability coming forth here. But yesterday I sent this reel to my daughter, and the hook on the reel says, I'll send it to you after just so you can see it
Okay.
too. It says, to the girl who's never anyone's favorite friend. And I saw this and I had like, oh my gosh, this is my whole life story. So I had like tears in my eyes yesterday. And because I think a lot of people would see me and be like, oh, like, and I hear this, oh, you're so busy. You have so many friends. You have all these things. But my own perception of my life is I did have friends, but I've never had a best friend. And, as a girl, you just like, oh, best friends. At least girls would all be best friends. And I've had the Amanda Haters Anonymous Club moment where my girlfriends didn't include me and wrote a note about why they didn't want to be my friend. And I've had these, your brain searches for the not, right, throughout your life. And part of that is because once the hurt happens, it's very easy to protect yourself and be like, well, screw you then. Like, I don't need you guys, which is where I fell into a lot of my life. Or that instead of that softness, kind, compassionate part of me, it's the critical part, like the judgmental part. But what I loved is what she reads says in the caption, and I'll even link this in the show notes so you guys can see. Her account's pretty great. But it said, you were always there. You always showed up. You remembered the birthdays. You sent the texts. You made room for everyone. And somehow you still felt like the backup plan. Not the one who they called when something exciting happened. Not the one who they actually saved a seat for. Not the one who got the invite first, but last. She says, I see you because this was me for a long time. And here's what I finally learned. One, you weren't forgettable. You were surrounded by people who didn't know how to value you. Two, you weren't asking for too much. You were just giving it to the wrong people. And three, you weren't bad at friendship. You were just early to knowing your worth. And last part is the right people won't make you second guess if you belong. And I was like full body chills yesterday because my daughter's walking this. She's such an old soul. She's going through this, like high school identity shift where her friends are making choices that she doesn't want to subscribe to, but she also doesn't want to be lame. So she's often not included, like all the things that I think that we can all identify to some degree. So I sent this to her and I felt like it was so powerful, but it was like, I think this is actually really a transferable skill in business. Is this is the same lesson that we're learning as we grow businesses is as we start to be big, as we start to share our beliefs is we often aren't invited. We are not thought of, and that's because like sometimes the people that we were around they can't handle this new version of us. And we know the value like in deep down inside we're like we're meant for this, like we're meant for greatness. We're meant to do these great things, but there are going to be people in your world that don't have the capacity. And you have two options. You could stay where you're at, or you can go and you can trust that you're then going to find people like you that like can hold space for my bigness and then the friends that I'm at. So it kind of, I did send a text to a group of girls last night that I remember very clearly a couple, probably 5 years ago, I had a friend tell me that like I did, literally, she said, you do friendship wrong. And I was like, I believed it at first. I believed it at first. And then I realized there's a group of girls and amongst like a few of you guys that I'm like, oh, this is what it's like to be okay now and understanding like, oh, I am who I am. And here we go. Right. So, anyways, I just felt like I want to share that.
I love that. Please do send that to me. I got full body chills hearing that because that has been my whole life too. I'm not, there's this trend going around on the interwebs that I can't stand in the entrepreneurial, specifically with women's space. And I am disgusted by it. Whereas they're saying things like, um, friendships are the best business strategy. And
Ugh.
I can't stand it. It's like, oh, so you're friends. Like, and I've had that, like, people see me as an opportunity to grow or like, let's collab. I'm like, no, no, you can hire me though. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be that. Because my friends are my friends no matter what. And I may not be in, and I'm okay not being invited to stuff. It still stings. It's like, I'm actually really fun. However, I may not be the favorite friend or the one that's thought of day to day, but you wanna know what I am? I'm the most important damn friend for so many people when all hell is breaking loose, when they're having the dark night of the soul, you wanna know who they think of?
You, yeah.
Me,
Yes.
every damn time, and
Yeah.
no, the old me would have been salty about that, but I also know like this is the path. And because there isn't a lot of clutter in my friendships, I have the most elite group of friends. I have the most elite children, and I mean that with like high value, high integrity. Um, no matter what they're going through, they can show up, and that is friendship. That is the real deal. And so, as much as it does hurt, because we're still human sometimes to feel excluded or not part of the cool club, I know how cool we are. I
Yes,
we
we
are
are.
cool when it matters most.
We're cool. Yeah. And actually, the real big deal is we know we're cool and that's enough, right? Which maybe in the past was different. So kind of a rabbit hole, but also super pertinent to what we're talking about. I know so many of you listeners like can feel that on some level too.
Everybody just got full body chills for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree there. For so then what I feel like though, like let's move this into the piece too that we really wanted to hit on is all the stuff that we've talked about now becomes super important and critical because we're facing an age of technology that we never have before. And now AI is leaking into every aspect of business. And I just shared on LinkedIn this morning. Are you proud of me? I'm on LinkedIn now, really working to be on LinkedIn. I kind of like it because it's a little bit geeky, like content, a little bit more long form. But I got this newsletter recently from somebody who I respect in the coaching space, and she's transitioned to teaching all AI stuff. So it's important, she's selling like a 3 to 7K course all on how to integrate AI. But her whole newsletter was basically like sticky notes should be over all over your house, and you should figure out how to use AI for every single thing you do. And I had this visceral like, ew, gross, right? And I actually love AI. I use it all the time. However, my personal philosophy is the more we relinquish our control and our autonomy to AI, the more we forget actually how to do things. Like we miss the reps. So if I'm constantly letting AI write my newsletter, then I literally, if I were to go do it on my own, I'd be like, shoot, what do I write about? Or content or recording the podcast. If I let AI write my content for the podcast, we miss the reps. And I know there are people out there using AI to coach. And I'm like, ew, no, like this is the art, the mastery of coaching. Because in real time, if you keep giving your power away to AI to coach your clients, then how do you show up to an actual conversation and actually coach? And so I think what we're talking about today, though, is this is a critical piece that should be woven into your business is knowing fully who you are and being unfiltered about it, because that is going to be the separator when everybody else is leaning into AI and you're like, nope, I'm going to be me over here. Like, what's your thoughts around that?
I have that same visceral reaction. And also, I mean, it's a tool, right? But when it's misused, just like the Enneagram, like if the Enneagram is misused, it's not good, right? AI misused and outsourcing your entire soul and spirit and voice. And I understand because the last 2 years, this has been a struggle for me. It's like I can't compete with that volume. I can't compete with the manufactured marketing plans that are out there. And so part of me is like, forget it then I'm not going to do anything. And because I had used it a little bit, I was, of course, I'm open. I'm old, but like, I'm not.
Stop it right now.
I mean, I'm a Gen Xer, man. So like half my life is without internet. I'm not ignorant to the fact that like innovation is really cool and really important and also really misused. And I like using it to, brainstorm and just throw all my thoughts all at once and see kind of what comes up. But this whole outsourcing your words, your voice, your hyper specificity is not a good game plan. And if you do it too much, it's like anything, you forget who the hell you are and you start to second guess yourself. And that has happened to me a little bit the last 2 years because not only did I not use it the way a lot of people do, but I just quit altogether using my voice. Part of that was a necessary divine appointment and very spiritual sabbatical for me to remember who the hell I am. Right. And I have vowed, like, I'm coming back and I'm not using AI. Like, it may give me ideas as I'm not somebody who writes a lot of stuff down. So I kind of just like throw it all in there and just like, okay, help me remember to come back to this. But as far as my words, my voice, my impact, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a robot. I don't want to be on social media reading a bunch of manufactured BS kind of slop, right? And if the real ones don't stand up and use their own voice, like how is anybody going to know the difference?
Yeah.
That through life, and you're like, I don't even trust myself to know what's real and what isn't anymore. And the good thing about being eights is like we're like F that. We will not be conformed to that.
Yeah.
We can use it for good and with beautiful intent and in integrity because it is valuable and powerful when used properly. But this whole outsourcing your entire voice and just playing the volume slop game is not a good strategy, not just for your business, but for your soul.
Yeah.
It really, really is not.
I'm also seeing as I'm hearing my clients use it a bit more because you're right. As an 8 who naturally is okay with being rebellious and not conforming to the to patterns of this world, sometimes I think our people that learn from us who aren't 8s have to lean into that bravery and that courage. Because the other thing that I see happening with AI is it's a mask for fear. So it's like I'm just going to do this and look for validation. I'm going to do this and hope for affirmation. I'm going to do this and hopefully get it like 1 degree more perfect, right? And so we're seeking this. I'm excited. It's a silo, basically. We're creating this validation silo for ourselves when underneath it is like still this fear of rejection, this fear of displacement, this fear of, not being liked. And ultimately, you can stay in this like circle of just hanging out with AI and seeking all of those things, but it's never going to be replaced for massive action and just putting your stuff out there and knowing that yeah, there's going to be people that love you and there's going to be people that aren't for you.
Not only that, I'm seeing and hearing more and more people use it almost like a best friend and um, sacred counsel. And although I do believe you can gather some good nuggets from it, I am seeing the isolation in people wreak havoc in their lives. Like they're using it like a therapist. And it's like, you cannot outsource the human spirit and the human connection. You cannot. It will leave you questioning yourself, doubting yourself. Too much information is like, if you don't, I'm a lady that my hair, clogs the drain. And if you don't pull that stuff out, it's like you're standing in sewage. And I think this over inundation of more is better, more is better. Let me talk to this damn thing all damn day. Like you're standing in a pile of sewage and you can't see the bottom. And I really, really think that you need to get a little deeper with yourself, not asking this little robot about the depths of who you are. You know who you are, but you have to kind of clear the path a little bit. Use it for a beautiful tool here and there, right? Like I get it. I do. But don't let it help you forget who the hell you are.
Yeah, totally agree. Oh my gosh, you're so magic. I appreciate you just coming in and I think what I'm taking away from this episode is like permission to be fully yourself is going to be the thing that really helps you go all in, right? It's this thing that sometimes we don't recognize. And it's such a key component of just being in a business that you actually kind of like at the end of the day. But attracting the kind of clients, honestly, that are the most meaningful premium clients that you possibly could have.
I need to, it's a reminder of my own today. So it's
Don't we all? Don't we all?
so much. I
Oh my
get
goodness, of course.
and I respect you and it's an honor to be here.
I love you right back. So I know you host a podcast, obviously, and there's more brilliance there. Can you just share more about the podcast, where people can connect, who are listening and are like, okay, I need more Tracy in my life, because there's so many ways and opportunities to work with you.
I do have a podcast. It's like 6.5 years old now, almost 500 episodes over the last 6 years. And it's called the Enneagram Edge, but it's not just like all Enneagram. The Enneagram is just the tool. the wisdom comes in leadership, business, spirituality, parenting, and self-leadership. Like that's the gist of it. I do reference the Enneagram because it's this compass that kind of reminds you like who you are and what you're here to do. So you'll be taken through the evolution of the last 6.5 years of myself as I've moved through it, and like lots of faith and lots of soul and lots of all things woo and spiciness. And I'm the kick in the ass kind of friend that is very important in your life. So go check it out. I haven't done many guests in recent years because it's like I'm not gonna give you fluff either, but it may be what you need to hear. So go check it out on all the platforms.
I love it. And then we'll also put her IG handle in here too because she's hanging out over there as well.
A little bit, yeah. I'm coming back. I'm coming back
Okay.
strong. Yeah, I've committed to showing up fully without the help of all of those things to
To replace your voice. Well, I love hearing that for sure. Well, again, thank you for sharing your brilliance. We're so grateful for just creating this space for us.
love you, honey. Thank you.
Love you back.